And we are back, episode 27 of Journey to a Million. You might be wondering, why is this not episode 26? And let me tell you why. Last Friday, myself, Drew Skyberg, Zack Roush, also here, and then Jared Valesky, the Journey to a Million squad. We were at the 1212 Sports Pub and Grill in Oshkosh at the Oshkosh Arena. We did our first live show on that Friday night, June 3rd, and it was quite the time, and it just turned out great. And we want to thank everyone for coming and for all of the support too along the way. And yeah, with that, like I said, Zack Roush and Jared Valesky are here with me today, the Journey to Million squad. And how are you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Good.
Awesome. And yeah, that live show, like I said, it was something else, guys. We had the trivia wheel. Zack was able to spin the trivia wheel, and then we had Jared announce that Thrive Fantasy partnership by holding up that Thrive Fantasy flag. And just overall, it was a great night. Again, and the food was excellent, right? Would you guys go back for some cheese curds?
Yeah, I would. Those fries were pretty good too.
Well, I can tell you guys for sure, you are coming back June 25th, Saturday. We all are going back, the Journey to a Million squad. We're calling it a Sports Crew Saturday with Drew's Sports Crew there. And we are going to be at the Wisconsin Glow game. They're facing the Detroit Queens at home there at the Oshkosh Arena. We'll be doing a pregame show there. We'll be on around 6:15, 6:30-ish is going to be when we're on. And look, it'll be a lot of fun. We'll do halftime, postgame. We'll have players on. It'll be great time there, and it'll be just an excellent environment. We'll be on a party deck. And enough about that, though. We got to talk about some football here today. We have the offseason previews. We're continuing them. We only have a few more left here. We have the Arizona Cardinals and the Kansas City Chiefs today. So we're starting with the Arizona Cardinals, and we'll take a little break. We're going to talk a little bit about Thrive Fantasy, and then we'll go back and we'll talk about the Chiefs. So let's start with the Arizona Cardinals, and we'll start how we always do. We look at how last season went. And look, the Cardinals, it seems, in the past few years, especially last year, tale of two seasons or tale of two halves, for the season, right? You start off very hot, and then it seemed almost the turning point was losing to the Lions in that game. And, it just was just a tale of two different halves there for the Cardinals. Starting with Jared, where would you give him a grade there?
I gave him a B, which might be a little high looking back. Like you said, they started off as one of the best teams, looked like the team to beat in the NFC. And then they kind of tailed off after that Lions game. And it came down to the Rams in the postseason where they got absolutely blown out by them. We saw Kyler Murray kind of improve. Obviously, we thought that was going to happen because he's a young quarterback still with a lot of experience and potential. So we saw him kind of develop a little more in his game. But going into next year, obviously, Hopkins is suspended, so we'll have to see what he does there if he makes that jump. But yeah, I think a B is a good grade for them.
I'll give him a B minus. Obviously, losing to the Lions is the highlight of any season, and it's been the same the last couple of years. I don't know if Cliff Kingsbury is the answer there in Arizona. They're going to have to figure that out if they want to compete for a championship.
Yeah, this is one of those teams. Look, I might go C+ here, and no hard feelings, but this might be one of those teams. They're stuck in limbo. I think they're stuck. You have this roster, you have talent, but do you have what it takes to compete against the big dogs? I don't think so. And I compare it to the Phillies in baseball, right? I think that's a great comparison. You have all this talent, you make all these signings, but for what? For what? And that's where I think the Arizona Cardinals lie right now in the NFC. So those are my questions there with this squad. I know they go 11-6, but with how they started and just overall how they performed, you would have expected more, I think is the way to say it. And with that, there's a lot of questions then going into the offseason. There were for this squad, and more question marks became a thing when with Hopkins, right, the suspension, which we'll talk about later, but you have some older guys you re-sign for long-term deals here. And the story, Zach Ertz being one of them, a 3-year contract in 2024. Same with James Conner. And overall, Zach, were you a fan of those signings? I know for myself, I like the Conner one more than Ertz. I know it's a running back. I know, right, running backs, we talk about, ages of decline and with that. But what were your thoughts on that?
I like the Conner signing as well. Last year, he showed signs of going back to the form he had in Pittsburgh when he had those couple of great years. The Ertz one, I know he played well in Arizona, but as you mentioned, he's getting up in age. And they did draft Trey McBride in the draft this year, so I'm not quite sure how that's going to go. Maybe they start running some 2 tight end sets or something, but I was a fan of the James Conner signing for fantasy and to help their team.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both of that. James Conner, he was kind of their running back, their touchdown running back last year, which might be again this year, or he might see the bulk of the carries and get the most yards. But yeah, like you said, Zach, they got Trey McBride, so we might see Ertz kind of decline a little bit, or we might see a two tight end field like they might do that.
Yeah, I think. With back to Connor here, I think his usage rate, I think carries, I think those are going to be up for him this year. I think that's going to be a great story for the squad. More signings, right? Colt McCoy, the GOAT, re-signed a 2-year contract. Locking him up. But overall, I guess the big thing right now, with Kyler Murray, though, there's been some extension issues, and overall with the contract situation, I guess with that tension, what do you guys think for the squad? And with that, because Kyler Murray, of course, being the quarterback who he is, and look, I mean, that's a long-term guy you want to lock up, but just with the disagreements right now, do you guys think they're going to reach some sort of deal? I know there's been, like I said, a lot of tension. So, Jared, what do you think here?
Yeah, I mean, we just got drafted a few years ago. He's looking like their franchise quarterback, so they're going to try to do whatever they can to get him. Whether he wants to be there, that's another question. Any player has their own, wherever they want to be. But I think if you're the Cardinals, you got to stick with them. You have some talent on your team. Still young too, so he's got a lot of potential. So I think you got to stick with him.
Yeah, we've seen it lately. I mean, you pretty much got to pay quarterbacks whatever they want, because if you don't have one, you have no chance to compete. So they got to pay Kyler what he wants, and who knows what that asking price is. I mean, we can speculate it's probably in the $40 to $45 million range.
It's got to be.
Maybe the Cardinals don't want to play that, but they got to.
Yeah. Again, it's Zack hit it on the notes. You have to pay that price. More signings here. Kingsley Keke, they get on a 1-year deal. Look, sleeper one there, Zack. You and I know as Packer fans, and then we'll talk more about the draft picks here in a second. But overall, I mean, those were AJ Green. It's coming back, right? For a 1-year deal, it looked like. What are your thoughts on that? Look, receiving is going to be interesting. We'll talk about, of course, Marquise Brown in a second too, but the draft. But what did you guys like, or what did you guys think about AJ Green coming back?
I think it's solid. Him and Marquise Brown will be their top 2 probably until Hopkins comes back. So I think it gives them a little more versatility on that offense.
I mean, I think it gives them some experience. That's about it. I don't think he's really going to contribute much at this point in his career.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. Look, he seemed like he was already on decline last year, and you can only imagine it's going to get worse. But let's go talk about the draft here for the Arizona Cardinals. And the big story was, trading first-round pick. Many people were like, what's going on? He got traded, and I mean, it became more clear, right, with DeAndre Hopkins. But what did you guys think about going out, getting Marquise Brown? Look, you needed a guy for 6 games. That's a good chunk of the season. I know people are saying it's only 6 games, but if you think about it,
it's 5 games.
It's 5 games. My bad.
Yeah.
But it's still, regardless, it's still a good chunk of the year. And with that, they go out and get their guy. We know Lamar Jackson was not happy about it, but look, I think on the Cardinals end, you can be content with that guy, but I don't know. I don't know my thoughts on it. With it being a good chunk of the year, like I said, being right 5 games, I think you had to. But at the end of the day, I don't know if there's any other better options that you could have gotten at that same price. So I'm content with it. Zach, where are you leaning on that trade?
I mean, I think they got decent value, I guess. I'm just not a fan of the trade because I think they have other holes that they could have addressed better with that first-round pick than receiver.
Yeah, like that. It's not like you're getting a DeAndre or like a Devontae Adams or Tyreek Hill, some superstar. You're getting Marquise Brown, who's decent. He's not a bad player. He's been the Ravens' #1 besides Mark Andrews, so he's been good. But it's just like you said, Zach. I mean, you could have utilized that pick a lot better.
Yeah, and with their draft too, we'll talk about. I personally wasn't necessarily a big fan of this draft. There's some guys in here, Cameron Thomas, Trey McBride, the first 2 picks they made, I was more content with. But from there, some of the lower round guys, they got a running back too. They're in round 6, but they didn't have in their defense. When you have 1 pick in round 2, 2 in round 3, 2 and 6, and then 3 and 7, there's not a lot of guys to, that you can really get there that are well known or even just solid prospects. So yeah, these guys are going to be more of projects, it seems. But overall, their draft, not necessarily a big fan of. They went out and they did get a couple defensive ends. They got a lot of defense here, and O-line was kind of the big focus here. But yeah, for me, not necessarily a huge fan of this draft. Jared?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they got a bunch of defense, like you said. They have some weapons. They have talent on their team. It's just a matter of fact, as if like when DeAndre Hopkins comes back, if they can put it all together, if they can keep age out of the question with like James Conner, if he can just continue for a few more years. Zach Ertz getting old. Like this team has the potential to be good, but it just depends if they can showcase all their talent this year.
Yeah, this is one of those teams that I don't like the direction they're headed. I'm obviously not a Cardinals fan, but if I was one, I mean, they got Ertz, who's getting old. They got Connor. They got DeAndre
Watt.
Hopkins. All of them are getting old. Yep, they got J.J. Watt. They lost Chandler Jones this offseason too. So that's another big loss. I think this team is kind of heading in the wrong direction, even with the Kyler Murray's quarterback still being young.
Yeah, like I said, I call it no man's land. I mean, this is, and I'll go back to the Phillies in baseball. Look, not good enough to compete in that division, not good enough to compete in that league. And that's what the Cardinals are. And you have young players. And what do you do with them? And that's the question the Cardinals are going to have to make, the decisions. I mean, and the questions they have to answer. So I don't know what will happen here. You could easily just blow this whole thing up. It'd be quite easy. But now that they're digging a bigger hole.
Get rid of Cliff.
That's the start. I think new front office, just ground up.
I think you stick with the players for now and just get rid of some management and then go from there probably.
And my thing, you got to trade these guys. It's better to trade a guy early than it is too late. And that's where I'll stick with guys like, if you're going to do it with Watt, right? With Ertz, like these guys are going to. Oh yeah, exactly, Zach. I think that's what you got to do to rebuild this thing. And with Zach Ertz, right? I mean, what's his value going to be in year 2, maybe year 3?
It's going down from here.
Will you be able to even trade him?
You'll trade him for like a
4th
or a 5th, maybe at best. But
at best, yeah.
What they get him for? They gave up like a 3rd or 4th, didn't they? Something like that.
I will give you that information.
After signing him to extension, I don't even know if they might be able to get what they gave up for him, just because he kind of had a little resurgence. But they're definitely not going to gain draft capital.
No, how old is he? Is he like 35, 34?
31. 31. Take Owen and a 2022 5th round pick for Ertz. They're going to get 5th or 6th. I mean, for Ertz, I think at that.
Yeah, I could see like a 3rd or 4th probably, but
so I don't know what I think about that, but let's roll here to the schedule prediction. Are you guys ready?
Yep.
All right, so here are your opponents for the Arizona Cardinals in the 2022 to 2023 season. Hosting Kansas City, at Las Vegas, hosting the Rams, heading to Carolina, hosting the Eagles, at Seattle, hosting New Orleans, at Minnesota, hosting Seattle, at Los Angeles to play the Rams, hosting San Francisco and that game is in Mexico City, so they lose the home game there, hosting the Chargers, the bye week, hosting the Patriots, at Denver, hosting Tampa, at Atlanta, and at San Francisco. So Zach, we'll go to you to start.
It's a tough schedule.
And yes, it is.
It's a very tough schedule.
Remember, they went 11-6 last year.
I'm gonna go 7-10.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go here now, Jared. I was going 8-9. 8, 9, 9, and 8. I was, those were my two ranges, and schedule. I got to go 8, 9.
Yeah, I started at 9 and 8, and I bumped it to 8 and 9. So I think that's tough division.
Under 500. So
Seahawks.
Consensus agrees here.
Not in the playoffs.
Keep that in mind. Look, and quite frankly, I think that's what this roster, consists of. There's still guys with solid fantasy interests, of course.
I think 49ers jump above them. Yeah, Zach. I think third place is right.
Yeah, I think that's a good place, to put them in. Not a good place, of course, for the Cardinals because, well, I think Kingsbury was kept too long. And I know that might sound crazy. Oh my gosh, look how well they did to start the year. But after that second,
they just send him to a big extension, didn't they? This offseason?
Yep, I'm pretty sure they did. So that's where the question marks, they continue because let me.
I guess they view him a little differently than we do.
And we've seen guys, right? We talk about Brian Flores getting fired after the win streak, and arguably we see Kingsbury do the opposite thing. He ends on a losing streak, and yet he stays.
Sometimes that's something to do with how they treat the players, kind of like Versace when he kind of wrote them all letters, stuff like that. Maybe he has a bond with the players and they wanted them to stay or something.
Kingsbury's been doing the same thing since college.
Zack,
yeah.
2027
record with Patrick Mahomes
is the year he will be signed till.
Yeah, they signed him to a huge extension.
You're going to see that. That's why.
I guess it's good news for the 49ers and Rams fans.
Tough time to be an Arizona Cardinals fan. And look, if you want to rebuild that team, that would be right now would be a lot of fun. But I'm afraid in a few years when they try to rebuild it, it's going to be too late. And then we'll see. What will we see? We'll see. I don't even know where to go with that. Maybe the Texans, and when they were is that a fair place to go? I guess the quarterback situation, having
a young quarterback or a younger quarterback.
Yeah, I think that might be
a bad team. Yeah,
and I think that might be the way to go.
Or at least they got Isaiah Simmons, who he's shown some flashes. He hasn't put it together yet, but
solid piece there, which you get some good value for. But with that, we're going to take a quick break here. And when we come back, we'll be talking about Thrive Fantasy. I was recently introduced to AG1, and wow, if you're someone like me who hates taking pills and vitamins, wants more energy, and wants a more optimized immune system, let me tell you why this is the perfect supplement for you. So what is this stuff, you may ask? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. It's all those things. And look, this is the perfect thing to start your morning routine, start your day off right with just one scoop of AG1 with some water. And let's talk about AG1. What makes it so great, you may ask? It contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while still tasting good. Tons of people take some kind of multivitamin, right? And it's important to choose one with high-quality ingredients that your body will actually absorb. And let's talk about the price, right? You might be asking about that. You're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance, and with that, that's going to save you money, right? It costs you less than $3 a day while you're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than that cold brew habit, which I do have. I do love my coffee, but talk about what the founder did here. He created Athletic Greens after experiencing how difficult it was to create an optimal nutritional routine on your own, and I can attest to that. It is extremely difficult on a day-by-day basis. Athletic Greens, they also have over 7,000 5-star reviews, so you are getting the best when it comes to Athletic Greens. And also, they're a climate neutral certified company, so they care about the environment. And for every purchase, they donate to organizations helping to kids in need, including No Kid Hungry here in the U.S. And right now, it is just time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. Look, to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you 1 year supply free of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/emerging. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/emerging. athleticsgreens.com/emerging. EMERGING. And that is to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Episode 27 resumes on the podcast as we have our second team to cover. But first, we got to talk about Thrive Fantasy. Look, as we announced at the start of the episode and last Friday, we are officially partnered with Thrive Fantasy. Use promo code J2M, but you got to come prop up with us there on Thrive Fantasy. And you might be wondering, what is Thrive Fantasy? Thrive Fantasy is a daily fantasy sports app for player props. And with Thrive, you can eliminate the countless hours of research and focus only on the top tier athletes that have the biggest impact on the match, like Zack. Zack's not the most knowledgeable NBA guy, but he knows Steph Curry, right, Zack?
I know who that is. He makes a lot of shots.
He knows that, and he can take his points line tonight, which is points line. We're talking about NBA Finals Game 3. So if you missed out on Game 3, you got to sign up, use promo code J2M for Game 4. But you can then, for the contest here, there are 10 out of 20 available player prop lines that you will choose it. And that's how you're going to build your lineup here. It's got best of both worlds in it. You got the over-under aspect plus the lineup aspect all in one there. And each prop is assigned a fantasy value for both the over and the under based on how likely it is to hit. And you're going to try to hit the most props and rack up the most points to win a share of that prize pool. And look, if you want to join us on the journey to $1 million, Thrive has awarded over $13 million in total. So think about that. You could be a part of the journey to $1 million. You could already complete your journey to $1 million with that. And like I said, you got to use promo code J2M when you sign up today, and you will receive 100% instant first deposit match up to $100, plus 2 free contest entries when you deposit at least $10, and 4 free tickets when you deposit $100. So you got to download the Thrive Fantasy on the App Store or the Play Store, or by visiting the website www.thrivefantasy.com. So sign up and begin your journey to $1 million today. And with that, we're going to talk about what we are doing for Game 3 of the finals. So, Jared, I know you entered a contest. You took advantage of J2M. Are you enjoying all the perks again, those free contest entries and that deposit match?
Oh, of course. I mean, I deposited $100, so I got $100 free, and I also got 4 $20 free entries, which you guys could as well if you use code J2M. So I entered into a $20, it would be free basically, $20 contest for NBA. And I have 5 lines for 1 game entries. It only asks for 5 lines, and then also 2 ice picks, which are like, if it's tied, then it'll come down to like, it's like a tiebreaker kind of a thing. So you take 2 other picks, and whatever points, however many points they are worth, whoever has the most points, if it is a tiebreaker, will end up breaking the tiebreaker. So do you want me to go into some of my lines?
Let's hear it. I want to hear more.
So the way that this works is the riskier the line, the more points it's worth. So Kevon Looney's points or rebounds tonight are 10.5. And if you take the over, you get 110 points. And if you take the under, you get 90 points. So I took the over. I thought maybe he could get a few extra. So I have that. Draymond Green over 4.5 assists. That's worth 80 points. Andrew Wiggins over 6.5 rebounds and assists. That's worth 85. Then Marcus Smart, I'm not sold on him, but I have him over points and assists. That's 100 points. The over and under were both 100. Same as Derek White. I have him over 15.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And then my 2 ice picks, I have Steph Curry over 27.5 points, 95 points, and then Al Horford over 8.5 or under 8.5 total rebounds at 110 points. So maximum 475 points.
Love to hear that. And like Jared was kind of mentioning with the points. So if a player, you get more points for it, it's more of an underdog pick, right? So it means that the more likely outcome is going to award you less points. That's just how it is. So to tie it into baseball here, they'll throw home run lines in there. You bet Thrive Fantasy does that. If you like betting on home runs, daily fantasy, nowhere else you can do that, really. Like you don't have that option on Prize Picks to do an individual one. You don't have that option on Underdog. Only you have that option here on Thrive Fantasy, though. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was on that 0.5 home runs. You got 140 points, I believe, if he did 60 if you took the under.
I took the over.
You got it right then, Jared. You got 140 points with that. That's where I was going with it. But Zack is, very new to the daily fantasy world, and he just got on Thrive Fantasy, and he already knows what he's doing, which is something, like we mentioned at the live show, technology might not be his strong suit, but Thrive Fantasy, he's doing it, right, Zack?
Yeah, very easy use. Just entered my first 3-leg parlay in the house prop section. Mixed a little bit of basketball for game 3, and then a little bit of baseball for the Red Sox Angels game tonight.
There you go. And look, myself, I've done some LB contests here. I did one actually last night. Unfortunately, did not win, but I placed. I was very close to winning. I believe I was 7th or 8th. So, you can't win them all, but look, the payouts are great too. We got to mention that Zack is doing house props. They have the highest payouts on any of the daily fantasy things with a 2-leg parlay payout 3.6 times. So, for example, the competitors, they do it 3 times. So you'll get for $5, you'll get $15 if your 2-leg parlay hits. Not on Thrive. You get for your $5 one, you get $18. If you just keep multiplying that, right? A $10 one, you get 36, right? I mean, the deals go on. This is what we call the perfect daily fantasy sports app for you. And with that, this is the app we're rolling with right now. We love it. And yeah, Zack took a little bit of my house props. I did have JD Martinez over 1.5 total bases. And then I did have some lines in the finals as well. Hopefully Marcus Smart goes over on points. I know Jared and I were contemplating that one a little bit. Wiggins on rebounds, 5.5 also. So this is what we're rolling with game 3 and a little bit of baseball, but you do not want to miss out for game 4. So please use promo code J2M. We have the link on our Instagram. We have it. It'll be linked in this episode as well. So there's a lot of places where you can find it, or just reach out to one of us on our socials, which we will have as well. So I guess that wraps up our talk here on Thrive. And let's go talk now about the Kansas City Chiefs. So this offseason, well, first the past season, of course, we got to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. Interesting story. You're a win away from the Super Bowl and you come up short to the Bengals, but the expectations are high. Of course, when you have Patrick Mahomes under center, they're going to be high. But where would you guys rank them or grade them here? With a championship or bust kind of, almost. That's what it is when you have the talent they have, or they had last year too. That for me, I'm going to start with the grading here. I still there's some questions at the start of the year with them. I'll go B. Maybe even B minus. The expectations there were not met. At the end of the day, you can't get an A for that. So I'll go B here. Jared, we'll go to you.
I had B minus. I thought the same way you did. They had high expectations, obviously winning the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. All Chiefs fans, I know a few obviously are expecting them to make it to the Super Bowl every year, and especially with Mahomes, and now you lost Tyreek Hill, but they got a few other key pieces in the offseason, which we'll touch on. But yeah, just last season was kind of a disappointment for the Chiefs fans going into the season, thinking they were going to make the Super Bowl again and coming up just a little short.
I'll give them a B plus. Obviously, we said at the beginning of the year, everyone was pretty surprised with how they looked as a team. They looked kind of sloppy, weren't winning games. Games they should have blown out the opponent were close games. But then as the season went on, we saw that revamped O-line start to mesh together again. Obviously, they have Creed Humphrey. They got, was it Tyron Smith? I think that other guard that they drafted last year. So they have some young pieces on that O-line that it's going to be solid for years to come. And then obviously the playoffs. AFC Championship game was one of the top 4 teams left. I guess it's not Super Bowl, but it's still pretty good. So I'm going to give them B plus.
That's also a nice way to look at it too, Zack. And look, this offseason was wild. I know, it was a lot of question marks. What are you going to do? And then surprises happened. Tyreek Hill being the big one, of course. Going to Miami, the Dolphins, they get a big payout for that in terms of draft capital and, of course, more cap room as well. And they're able to really take advantage of that, which we'll talk about the draft stuff there. But first, we got to talk about, the guys they sign, right? Marquez Valdes-Scantling from the Packers goes there. That's an awesome fit. Look, with Valdes-Scantling being kind of home run, long ball receiver, and he goes to arguably one of the best quarterbacks to do it. So, overall, that that seemed like a perfect fit there for MVS. Zach, what are your thoughts on the MVS signing?
Yeah, I like the signing. I'm looking to see Mahomes spread the ball out a lot this year. They got, instead of having the one bona fide number one receiver like Tyreek Hill in the past, they have a multitude of different, smaller name receivers, but that can still fit together well, like Juju, MVS, drafted Sky Moore. I think they still have Nicole Hardman. So they have a variety of weapons this year instead of kind of just Tyreek Hill and then just kind of guys filling in behind him.
I mean, I still think they do have a top guy in Travis Kelce. He's still going to get most of the targets.
Yeah, I was talking like receivers. I'd see Kelce get his fair share of targets.
Yeah. I think Juju and MVS kind of go 1 and 2, I would guess, and then Hardman is obviously there. Do they still have Pringle? Is he still on their team?
No, Pringle's gone.
He's gone. Okay.
He went to the Bears.
Yeah. Originally, I said that this team was. I think I even mentioned at our live show that they were one of my losers during the offseason because they lost Tyreek Hill, who was obviously their best receiver. But now that I'm looking back, they filled in that gap pretty well and they got better. Obviously, they had a good draft and they still have some great talent on that team. So I kind of like where this team is headed, and I don't think they're much of a loser in this offseason.
For the draft is what, gives me like really hope with this squad. Historically great franchises, right? When you have longevity, if you have longevity in the NFL dynasty, right, you're doing something right in the draft at the end of the day. I mean, it really comes down to that. Look how the Patriots, we always talk about that, how they were able to have that sort of dynasty. See how the Packers.
Should talk about that this year. Should talk about the Patriots after this year's draft. Cole Strange.
Yeah, that was an interesting pick there. But looking at it though with the Chiefs, I mean, this draft was a great one. But also, you get Juju Smith-Schuster to the other story from the Steelers. That's going to be a great fit for fantasy. We'll talk about, fantasy impact after, of course, the record predictions, how we roll here. But overall, was there any sort of signing that kind of went under the radar that you were looking at, Zach, and being like, this one might work out?
Justin Reed, I guess. Kind of fills in for Matthew in that secondary. He's a little bit younger, probably hasn't had the career success that Matthew's had, but I think he can take a couple steps forward with the Chiefs.
Yeah, I like that there. Let's go to the draft now. So with this draft for the Kansas City Chiefs, he had a lot of picks. And with a lot of picks, they got a lot of guys who we were like, hey, we like, especially in the draft preview, going through it with Caden. I mean, a lot of these names are like, okay, well, we like this guy. This guy was mocked in the teens. Started with Trent McDuffie, a guy who was, mocked as early as the mid first round, going in the teens. Like I said, you get him at 21 out of Washington. He's gonna be a stud. Getting him there, and then getting more of I'm not gonna say a project, but a guy who might be a few years before he develops. George Karlaftis out of Purdue at 30, and the value with the edge, right? Getting him at 30, certainly a good value there. And then Sky Moore, getting that your receiver, 54th overall, getting out of Western Michigan, solid prospect there too. Leo Chenal too, also out of Wisconsin, linebacker. We like Jared and I, especially Wisconsin football fans, maybe not basketball fans, but overall, I guess a solid. I mean, top to bottom, I like this draft. Zach, I'll go back to you here right away. How would you grade this draft? To throw a grade in there, maybe. I know we don't grade drafts here, but this is one of those drafts I feel like we have to grade.
I'd probably give it like a B minus range. I'm not a big fan of the Karlaftis pick, just because I think he has to work on kind of some diversity in his pass rush moves. But I do like the Trent McDuffie pick. Obviously, getting one of the top corners in the draft after losing Charvarius Ward. I think that'll help kind of keep the secondary where it needs to be for another Super Bowl run.
Yeah, I think this team just needs to focus on, like they did in the draft. They got McDuffie. The main focus, I think, for this team is trying to get the ball back into Mahomes' Mahomes' hands. They have a great offense. They got Mahomes, Kelsey, questionable running back, obviously with Edwards-Helaire, but I don't know about him really, but just getting the ball back into Mahomes' hands is like the key for them. So obviously their first 2 picks were defense, and they went with a receiver, and then their next 2 picks were also defense. So I think they're looking to do that a little more.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the way for this Chiefs squad to go. And before, do you guys have any other thing you want to talk about before we do the record predictions?
No,
all right, let's roll it here. Kansas City Chiefs schedule. Here it is. At Arizona, hosting Los Angeles, the Chargers. At Indianapolis, then the Colts. At Tampa Bay, hosting Las Vegas, hosting Buffalo. At San Francisco, the bye week. Tennessee Titans hosting them. Jacksonville Jaguars, they're hosting them too. At Los Angeles, the Chargers hosting the Rams. At Cincinnati, at Denver, at Houston, hosting Seattle, hosting Denver, then at Las Vegas. So, again, tougher schedule, but you're in a tough division. So that's just how it is at the end of the day. I will go first. I will say, I think I'll go 11-6.
Drew stealing my record prediction.
Stealing my record too. This is the second straight team, actually.
We're all going 11-6.
Yeah, I think they're going to finish second. I think you think that too, Zach, behind the Chargers.
Yep.
And
this is a playoff team, though, of course, with 11-6, have them there. And of course, if they make the playoffs, they could easily make it to the Super Bowl. I mean, this team, Super Bowl contender still, I think. I mean, I still think that with any of these, when you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes, I think, you can't count him out of a game. So that's where I'd stand with them. But I think 11-6 is a regular season record that they will be having. So let's talk about some fantasy outlook. Go ahead.
How many years do you guys think Andy Reid is going to stay coaching?
I think, say they win the Super Bowl this year, I think he might be done.
Oh, I say if they fall short of expectations, I think he could be done this year.
Really?
I mean, I'll take an opposite approach to Jared.
He's getting up there in age, and Eric Bieniemy might be he isn't went anywhere else, so we'll see. Maybe he's going to be the next head coach there.
Yeah, I think a change of scenery might help this team, and which might sound, Andy Reid's been a phenomenal coach with this time in Kansas City, but that doesn't last forever. So that could be something to look at.
Do you think he stays in the organization kind of like Bruce Arians did, but just like steps down as head coach?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think he's old enough where he has to separate himself from the sport. I think he can stay with them, but just.
Well, he's like, what, 70, 71, something like that, 70?
Yeah, he's up there, but maybe just really
Andy Reid. He is 64, Zach. You are not nice. He
could go for a few more years.
Is that Pete Carroll that's 70? There's one head coach that's 70.
Pete Carroll. Now Zach's making me look up ages of head coaches. He is in fact 70. He turns 71 September 15th.
Yeah, that must have been who I was thinking about.
Zach's a Seahawks fan. I forgot. That's right.
Yeah, apparently.
All right, let's talk about some fantasy outlook now. We're going to start with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, that's the big question mark. Where would you guys draft him is my first thing. And are you even looking to draft him?
Yeah, once again, like what we talked about with split backs, I would not be drafting him. Maybe a third running back at best.
No, I'll draft him as a backup. Maybe that's it.
No.
I think there's reports coming out that Ronald Jones is going to be involved in this backfield, and I think they still have Darrell Williams, who is one of Reed's favorites. So I think this might be a 3 running back backfield, and that's what I'm saying. Nothing you want to be a part of in fantasy.
For a fantasy team, you don't really want to have a back that's not only split back but sharing with 2 others. So like you said, maybe a solid backup, but I'd say a really strong third string, maybe a flex player.
Yeah, I'd see if there's injuries or something that all changes, but as of right now, the
I'll say is no thanks. No
backup.
thanks. Yeah. I will pass. But another guy, and I tend to always go higher on tight ends. Like I always want to end up with a top tight end. That's just who I am. So Travis Kelce might be one of those guys. And how high would you guys draft him? I guess is my question. Would you draft him? It would like mid, let's say 10-team league, right? Mid to late second round, maybe is the word. Would you go any higher with that? And also, my other thing was, are you taking Mark Andrews over Travis Kelce?
No to
So
that.
I've been doing some mock drafts, and Kelce is going like end of the first round for 12-team leagues.
Really?
So he's going around that like 12
That's
to
a
15
premium.
range.
Oh,
That's where he went last year as well.
he's not worth.
Normally,
I
what
don't
I
think
do
any
is
tight end's worth it.
yeah, I normally
Not a
wait
first
until
round
a
pick.
tight end comes off the board first, and then say Kelsey goes first. Then
You
I'll
go with
jump
the
on
flow.
George
Yeah.
Kittle, or I'll go
Yep.
Mark Andrews, get a top one right away.
I would take Mark Andrews over
Same here.
Yeah, me
Travis
too.
Kelce.
Oh, over Kelsey.
I'm
Oh,
taking Andrews over Kelce. I'm with Zach. No, I will
Really?
stand
Andrews is my
firm.
tight end
well,
one
with that
this year.
offense, he's
Like
going to be
it.
their target. You're
Yep.
right. He's their key offensive piece, I think, in the passing game for the Ravens. So that might
I
be
think
a
he has
good
more like his yards after, I don't know, yards after catch, but like average. His
I've
average
had
reception
Andrews
has
like
more upside,
almost.
I think.
I've had him almost every year I've been in fantasy. I've always had Mark Andrews, and he's always produced, but he always has those weeks where he has like
Yeah.
2 points. But that's like
I mean,
everyone basically.
you're gonna be giving up probably a second rounder for him this year.
Yeah.
So Juju Smith-Schuster is my last guy, right? And he's mocked and ranked with guys of this caliber: Devontae Smith. I'll throw T.J. Hawkinson in there, Robert Woods. These are guys he's with, like in this range, and also DeAndre Hopkins because Hopkins is going. So my question here is with Juju: would you take Juju over all those guys there in that range, or would you go a different way?
I'm going to consider it.
I think that's a good range for him.
I think so too. I think Juju, and that has him at wide receiver 37 in that range in the late 30s,
Ooh,
which
yeah.
might seem kind of like low. I mean, guess like 37 seems like a higher number. I guess is the way I want to say it. I think he could be even in the top. What think about with the offense? I think he could simply be a top 30 receiver.
I mean, yeah, after like injuries obviously are going to happen, there's going to be some receivers that disappoint, just kind of miss some games, whatever it is. I think we could see Juju being around a wide receiver 20, 25, something like that.
Yeah, especially with Mahomes going from Ben Roethlisberger to Patrick Mahomes is a huge upgrade. So he can make a huge jump.
He doesn't have to compete with Claypool and Johnson and Kansas City either. Obviously, he still has MVS and Sky Moore, but it's not the same level of competition.
True.
Sky Moore, then you mentioned it, Zach. That's the last guy we want to talk about, right? So in a redraft league, right? We're not talking dynasty here. We're talking redraft leagues. As our redraft league for Journey to Million is out, so reach out to us on our social medias for that information. But yeah, Sky Moore, back to him. Where would you is this a guy you guys would look to draft? I don't even know. Like, he might get drafted for like the bench range, right? In a redraft. But do you have an interest in picking him up, or would you go another rookie wide receiver? I personally, if I can get some of the other rookie wide receivers, I might be going that way. Or even if I can get a guy like DJ Chark, right? If I can get him to fall down in that range, I think I'd go that way. But what are your thoughts on maybe picking up Sky Moore in a redraft?
I think Moore is probably gonna be one of those guys that, like at the end, like rounds 15 or something like that, you just take a flyer. Hopefully, he turns into something. If not, it doesn't really matter because it's one of the last rounds.
I can see him as kind of of like a Amon-Ra St. Brown, kind of like last year. I remember taking him in like the 17th round just to throw a guy on my team for good depth, and he ended up being a great player. So I think he can go around that range, and maybe never know, maybe he'll blossom into a star one day.
Did you keep Amon-Ra on your roster all season?
No, I didn't. I dropped him after like week 4.
I was confused too. I was gonna ask. I was like, "There's no way you stashed it." And we're like, "I knew this was happening."
No,
because
especially with Jared Goff.
Sky Moore, I personally, I just think there's better flyers. But again, if he's the flyer you see, go for it. I still would go. Like I mentioned, I still like DJ Chark in Detroit. I still like that one a lot. But yeah, I guess to round out, is there any other thoughts you guys have here on the Kansas City Chiefs?
No.
All right, so I'm going to throw a lot of social media stuff now out. Instagram, Drew Sports Crew. Twitter, Drew Sports Crew. New social medias, of course. And yeah, for the journey to a million, make sure to join our fantasy football league. It's all in the social medias for information to join. You can reach out to us, Jared Vleski, Zack Roush, and myself, Drew Skyberg, for that. And yeah, that'll wrap up here now on this Friday morning. So thank you all for listening to yet another episode of Drew's Sports Crew, the journey to a million, the perfect podcast for you.